Hey, what is up, dudes? My name is Freaky, and welcome to a long-awaited episode of some story times. And if you guys missed any of the other story times, there will be a link in the description below for you guys to go check out in the playlist, and you guys can go watch any of them that you may have missed. Now, today I'm going to be talking about the haunted house that I stayed in, where some activity happened, like paranormal activity, and some crazy stuff that probably I shouldn't have experienced as a kid. And some of you guys may be like, oh, dude, ghosts are fake, ghosts aren't real, the whole paranormal thing isn't real, there's no such thing as ghosts, oh my god. But maybe I can change your opinion on that as you listen in and listen to what happened to me as I was about 6 years old. So, some backstory on the house. It first came into my grandma's family as it was burnt down. So, my grandma's side of the family actually built the house back up as it was like a burnt house just left over. And it kind of just had the exoskeleton of the house left, if you know what I'm talking about. So, basically, the skeleton of the house was just left. And that was it. And they had to rebuild it up from scratch. And after that, they still to this day, the upstairs has burnt wood frames in the closet slash attic. So when you go upstairs, there's this door to your right, and it's a closet, but it's an attic at the same time where you store stuff in it. And there's wood that looks like it has been charred for years, and you could literally just peel it apart and it would just fall apart. So that's pretty crazy to have that still in the house. Now, the basement of the house is like dirt tunnels that go through like a maze spiral throughout the yard. So basically, the basement of the house isn't a normal basement. It's not bricked off. It's not cement. It's a dirt tunnel that goes in a weird maze-like spiral. And not just under the house, it goes throughout the yard as well, which is very, very strange. And I don't think I've actually ever made it to the end of the tunnel because I didn't want to go all the way back there, because frankly, it was really scary as I was a kid, and I haven't really been to the house in a long time to actually do that. So there's also a little puppy grave on the outside back of the house, and you can see it there, and it's pretty creepy because it was my grandma's old dog, and I think it died of old age. It was like a terrier or something like that, and it was a pretty weird thing to see when I was younger, because I was like, what? Dogs die? What? And I was like kind of sad about it. But you can also always feel like you're being watched in the house. I just remember living in the house or just going there to visit my grandparents at the time before I actually stayed at the house, feeling like I was always being watched. You just had this eerie feeling sitting on the couch watching TV that someone was right behind you. Or if you went into another room, someone was behind you there. If you were in the bathroom, you feel like if you left the door open, someone could watch you from the basement steps. It was kind of eerie. You didn't feel kind of home there. You felt kind of at ease at all times. And I don't know if that was just me, but that's what I always felt. So getting into more of the scary part of the stories that you guys probably want to hear about, my mom actually stayed in this house as well as she was growing up with her 4 siblings, which would be my aunts and uncles. And basically the house was kind of passed down throughout my family because I ended up staying in this house as I was growing up as well, which is weird because my grandma grew up in it, my mom grew up in it, and I grew up in it with my brother. So which is very, very weird to think about, as this house was passed down throughout generations. So some nights as she was staying up in her room kind of had like a vaulted ceiling where it would go inward at one angle to a wall, to the point where at the end of the ceiling and the wall marker, it'd probably have like a 3-foot clearance that you could have. So the ceiling kind of fell with the roof of the house, so it came down as an inward angle inside the room, which was kind of creepy. I don't like when rooms have that. It just scares me a little bit. And her bed was kind of pressed up against that wall as it was coming downward. Now, one night, my mom was sleeping in her room, and she would kind of have her bed kind of 5 feet away from her sisters. She had her sisters staying in the same room, and 2 of them were kind of just kitty corner away from her. So she would be sleeping one night, and she got kind of awoken to a black figure, a black shadowy figure that was about 4 or 5 feet tall, and it was just coming slowly and slowly and slowly closer to her, inching towards her as she's just frightened with fear and just struck there, and she can't move. You're in that fear-like state where you're locked and frozen, and you get that really weird tingly feeling all over you, and you're just so afraid that you do not want to move at all until you get the balls to pretty much move. So she finally got out of her shock of fear as it was about to approach her bed, and she jumped out and jumped into her sister's bed, which was about 5 feet away from her, and she awoke her sister. As she turned around, the black hooded figure just faded into the mist, and that's just a scary little story there. But the weird thing about it is, if you hear anything about paranormal like things that happen in houses, any hauntings or anything like that. If you see like a black figure or anything like a shadow figure, it's most likely going to be a demonic presence, which is very, very scary to think of, that one could be trying to possess you or anything scary like that. But that's if you believe in that type of stuff. So my mom wasn't the only person that actually saw stuff in this house. One day my mom's brother, which is my uncle, he was about younger, I bet he was like 12 years old. He looked outside the window in the living room and he saw that someone was by the tree. It was a white gowned lady picking apples off of the tree. So he called over my grandma real quick and to check this out, and to her surprise, it was her mom outside picking trees. And her mom was way past. She's been dead for a while, and she was surprised to see her there. And to this day, my grandma still remembers this occurrence happening, which is really, really kind of scary to think of, that you saw your mom, even though she's dead, outside the house picking stuff from the tree still. Now, going over to more of the weirder stories in the house, my stories that I grew up with in this house as my house was being built. So basically, when I stayed in this house, we had we decided to stay with my grandpa there because my grandpa and my grandma actually separated at the time that we stayed at the house. So it was just my grandpa staying at the house with us, and we are currently building the house, which I'm staying in right now. And it probably took maybe like 6 or 7 months. I don't know how long it took to build this house, but we stayed in the haunted house for a while. And so as me and my brother, we were about maybe 6 or 4. I think I was 6 and he was 4. And it was kind of scary moving into this house because it didn't feel like home, like I was saying before. It felt like I was being watched continuously. It felt like I was just kind of a trespasser there in a way. I felt not at ease. I felt like I was always being watched no matter what I was doing. And it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And I was really excited to move into the new house because I just wanted to get the hell out of there. So one night I was sleeping on my bunk bed upstairs, and my brother was sleeping on the lower one, and I was on the higher one, and I was awoken to a slam of a door. It wasn't the one in my room because my room was shut, and it was one in the hallway, the room where my mom stayed in, where the black figure was in. And I was awoken to that, and it shook me so hard that I ended up throwing up all over myself. And I remember just quietly getting off of the bunk bed and creeping downstairs and looking behind me because I was so afraid that something was either going to push me down the stairs or come and attack me and pull me into the other room. And I quietly creeped all the way downstairs as it was super pitch black in the house at the time. And I had to creep over to my parents' room and tell them what happened and just try to get comfort from my parents because I was really, really scared as that happened to me. Now, there's this one night where me and my brother got in a fight, and my brother's 4 years old and I'm 6 years old, and you know who's the taller one, who's the shorter one, and we get in those little play fights and stuff like that, but this wasn't that ordinary fight. He decided to go and grab a kitchen, well, not even a kitchen knife, it was more of a steak knife in the kitchen, and to chase me around the living room and the kitchen. So the kitchen, if you went to the left, it kind of connected to the living room, and then if you keep going around in a circle pattern, it would connect back to a hallway, which would connect back to the kitchen. So it was a big circle pattern, and he would chase me around that for about 30 minutes, and he was giggling. He's like, hee, I'm gonna chase you with a knife, and it was kind of scary. And I don't know what 4-year-old chases someone around with a steak knife, but man, that was that was pretty scary. And he chased me around until my mom finally got home, and he was still giggling, and my mom pretty much just took it away from him, and he got kind of sad. So that was kind of scary, and I don't know why that happened. I don't know if he was just a sadistic little person when he was little, or did someone tell him to chase me around with a knife. I don't know. So some nights later, we came back into the house, and it was, I think we went out to eat or something like that, and we came back to the house, and my grandpa wasn't home at the time, and it was pitch black in the house. It was pitch black. So we turn on the kitchen lights, and we see into the living room as we come in, and the reclining chair in the living room is rocking back and forth. And nobody is home. Nobody's home. But my brother thinks that my grandpa is home. So he runs around the other front of the side of the reclining chair, and he yells, "Grandpa!" And it stops dead in its track. It literally just stops dead. Just dead. Quietness throughout the house just emits. And it's really scary because was the chair rocking so hard that it looked like someone was in the chair, and right when he ran around, it just stopped immediately. And that was probably the scariest moment that I had inside the house, where something paranormal actually happened that you would see like in a movie. And it was just really scary to see that happen. And till to this day, I still think in my head that it was fake. But it wasn't, because I still have people telling me, my mom remembers it, my brother remembers it, and I remember it, and it just feels like a dream to me, like I was in a dream state and I saw this happen, and it's really, really scary to think of that happening to me, and I don't know, it gets weirder. It gets weirder, guys. It gets really weird. So some days later, I was staying in my parents' room because that's where my N64 was, and I was playing an MLB game, a baseball game, and I was going ham on it, and I think it was like one of those weird baseball games where like the ball was on fire and you could hit it, and then the ball would be on fire and you could hit it like a million times out of the stadium, and I think it was one of those weird games. I can't remember what that was called, but it was a fun game. So I hit a home run in the game, and right when I hit a home run, the bed in my parents' room started violently shaking. It was shaking to the point where it almost felt like a small earthquake happened under the house. And as the bed was shaking, the dog started barking violently downstairs, as if like there's an intruder in the house. Someone came in and tried breaking in, and they're like, oh my God, and they were barking downstairs, and it was getting a little violent, but then they ended up stopping. And my dogs, you guys may not know this, but they are very timid. They're labs, so they're very timid, and they don't even hurt a fly. They're the nicest dogs ever. We don't raise them to like want to bark at people. They never really bark to begin with. So them barking at something had to mean that there was something that was either a threat to them, or they thought that was a threat to us. So they decided to bark at them, which was very weird to hear that happen from the dogs that I used to own. So occasionally my mom would have some friends stay over at the house, and they would end up staying in the living room area. So like I said before, the living room and the kitchen were kind of connected, and you could kind of see, if you walked a little bit steps towards the kitchen, you could see into the kitchen. And they would always stay in the living room because that was more of our guest bedroom and stuff like that. So they'd always be woken up in the middle of the night around 1 a.m. and they'd hear like clanging and water running in the kitchen. So they'd get up and look, and they'd see a white gowned lady in the kitchen just cleaning dishes. And then they wouldn't think anything of it. They'd go back to sleep and then wake up in the morning and tell my mom about it. And they'd be like, oh, were you in the morning? Or were you early in the morning cleaning some dishes or something for some reason? Or did you get up? And the answer to that would always be no. She was never in the kitchen or late at night. And she never wore a nightgown. So that's a thing as well. So even as the days went on during the day of the house, you'd still hear like marbles rolling across the floor on the ceiling upstairs. You'd hear footsteps, creaks, and even voices coming from nowhere in the house. And there's a story where my dad got out of the shower and he heard a radio coming from a clothes basket. So he started digging for the radio. He thought someone put a radio in there. And as he was digging and getting to the bottom of the basket, the radio kind of just like disappeared, and there was no radio to be found. And during that day that happened, we were outside. My brother, my mom, and I were outside, and we thought we heard my aunt come home, and it sounded like someone greeted her, and she started a conversation with her upstairs in the upstairs bathroom. So we were kind of like, what? Why would she be up there, and why would she come over? And we later went in the house and knew that she did not come over. No one came over, and the house just kind of decided to keep voices inside of it as if it was some type of recording device, which is very weird to think that a house can do that and keep memories and voices inside, locked inside of it, which is really, really scary. So finally, we're getting to the part of the story where I'm about to move out of this house. We're about to move into the new house, and I can't wait. We're so excited that we're going to leave, and the nights get worse, or at least this night gets a little worse as we're about to move. It's about 2 nights before we're about to move into our new house, and this is what happens. My mom was cleaning a guinea pig cage outside. I think we had guinea pigs in the basement. I don't know exactly where we keep the guinea pig. I don't know where we kept them, but it was probably somewhere in the basement. But she was cleaning the guinea pig cage outside, and she hears this humming sound fly past her ear. So she turns around, and there's nothing to be found there. There's just nothing. It just sounds like a huge like that sound as it was flying past. And so she keeps cleaning, right? She keeps cleaning as if nothing happened until she hears it again, and then a light shine off of the window right next to her. And she looks around, and to her surprise, she sees this greenish yellow orb that's the size of a baseball that's flying around the backyard in some sporadic patterns, and it's just going around, zipping around the house, going up in the air, flying past her head, and doing some really weird patterns. So she quickly runs back inside to tell my dad about this, and me and my brother actually overheard the conversation that was happening, so we ran into the living room and kind of stayed on the couch because we didn't want to run back upstairs because it was too scary up there, and we wanted to stay down here and stay more close to our parents. So as my parents were wrapping up the conversation of what was going on, they shut the door, and right when they shut off the lights, they heard this light bulb just shatter. You just hear that shatter, and then they freak out and turn back on the lights, and they freak out. They're like, what was that? What just happened? And when they go and look, they notice that there was a light bulb missing from this dresser. Now, this dresser had a light bulb in sort of a U, an upside-down U formation around the mirror that was on the dresser. Now, there was an alarm clock that was about 3 feet away from the light bulb where the light bulb fell. Now, the light bulb had to fall in a L like formation to actually drop on the alarm clock itself, which is really, really strange for it to happen. So it falling from straight down 3 feet away from the alarm clock, it fell down and then moved over 3 feet left and then fell on the alarm clock. So that should not have happened. It was almost thrown at the alarm clock, if anything. That it just shouldn't have dropped like that, because physics doesn't happen like that. When something falls, it falls straight unless something was to move it in midair and actually throw it in a different direction, which is really, really strange to me. And that night, we were just so afraid that we had our lightsabers and baseball bats, and we were just all ready to fight something in the house for our last night, and we were just so happy to get out of that house. So basically, living in the house was not fun at all. It was not a good time. I remember if I had to take a bath or something, I remember if the door would open, I would always look exactly at the basement, and I was like really scared of that basement for some reason. There was something about that basement that I did not like, and like I said before, there's always creaks upstairs. Felt like there's marbles rolling around upstairs in the ceiling. There's a shadow figure that my mom saw. I ended up throwing up in the house just randomly when you woke up, just instantly throw up. I always got bloody noses in the house too, a bloody nose in the house. I don't know why. I haven't had a bloody nose since then, which is very, very strange to me because I'd always get them in that house. And I just felt like I was always being watched in that house. I didn't feel like I was invited there. I felt like I was intruding on someone else's space, which is really, really weird to think, especially when that house was throughout our family for a while now. So it was not a good time in that house, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm always afraid to kind of go back to the house because my aunt actually lives there now, but she says there's nothing that ever happens in the house anymore. She does say that she does see the orb once in a while follow her dog into the house and just follow the dog around the house, which is really, really weird. So in a way, the orb could actually be the small dog, like I said in the beginning, that was buried outside the house too. So it's kind of funny how that happens, and my aunt's always drunk, so she doesn't care. She doesn't even give a crap what's happening. But hope you guys did enjoy this video. You guys were waiting so long to hear about the haunted house story, and I'm so glad I brought you guys it today. I'm kind of thinking about it now that I can't believe that I actually had to go through this as I was like 6 years old, and I had to see all this stuff happen to me. And what I want to know from you guys in the comment section below, have you guys ever had any paranormal things happen to you? Do you believe in spirits? If you do, tell me your experience with it. If you don't, tell me why not. And just let me know in the comment section below. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you missed any of my story times video, there'll be a link in the description below if you guys go check out. If you enjoyed this video enough, so make sure to drop it a like and a favorite if you guys want to do that as well. Make sure to go check out my other videos in the outro. Share this video with your friends on Twitter and Facebook so they can get scared as well. And I guess I will catch your freaky-deaky faces in the next video. Okay. Turn off the camera. Crap. There's already people after me in the— Holy shit! Holy son of a bitch!